Instagram, Jesse Lee. Here, JesseLeePeterson.com will probably be the easiest one.
It'll cover everything.
Fallen State TV, JesseLeePeterson.com. Again, that's probably the easiest one. He's also got all kinds of books out there. New episodes every Friday on The Fallen State, the Jesse Lee Peterson show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific time, 9 to noon Eastern, so that's 8 to 11 our time.
He's a preacher, too.
He had, there he is. Oh, there's the man. All right. He's coming in just a second here. Again, JesseLeePeterson.com. The Fallen State, new episodes every Friday. The Jesse Lee Peterson Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon Eastern. Let's see if we've got him. Jesse Lee, how are you, sir? Oh, is he there?
All right, folks, welcome back. 888-7753. 773-888-77 Jesse. So for we're doing a simulcast here to the callers. Just hold on, I'll get to you in a minute here. I'm doing a simulcast with the Steel Toe Morning Show. They wanted to interview me, ask me a few things. I'm like, okay, because our shows are on at the same time. And I'm like, well, let's do a cybercast. And so I'm on with Aaron M. Holt and his wife, April.
Yes.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning, Jesse. We're really excited to have you, man. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
On our show, we're pretty big fans of yours. We've played a lot of your stuff over and over because it's some of the most legendary things. We recently went over your Dr. Phil appearance.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Phil.
Yeah,
that was funny.
That was hilarious. There's a whole, we're watching these people as you're speaking who have never heard a person speak like this before. Just so blunt and open. Like, usually, even if someone says the things you do, they say them in a way that are just kind of like, well, I got to make sure that I don't upset too many people. And when you just come out and you're like, well, yeah, I think white people should be having more babies, and watching everybody's eyes just go gigantic. It's one of the greatest things. So the first question I actually wanted to ask you today was very simple. Where do you get the balls?
God gave them to me. But,
there you go.
What happened was about 33 years ago, God took the spirit of anger away from me. And when he took the spirit of anger, because anger is evil, it's the nature of the devil. And anyone who has anger has fear. And so when I didn't know that was going to happen, but when he took the spirit of anger away, he also took away the children of the devil, like fear and doubt and worry, insecurity and stress and all that. It left me. So inside of me, I have no fear. I love what's right. And I know what's right is what's going to change America and keep it going in the right way. And so we got to overcome anger in order to have the courage to speak the truth.
That's really true. But, you don't ever seem to get too discouraged because you say this is what's going to turn America around. I mean, we were just playing a clip a little bit ago on our show of a woman on TikTok, and I swear to God, she believed it. She goes, well, if you don't want to have relations with a trans person, then that makes you a bigot. It's not like preferring blonde hair. It's not like preferring short people. It's a bigotry, and you're evil, and you're terrible.
Transphobic.
I think of it. We were watching it, and we were like, I wish Jesse was coming on the show right when we were in the middle of this, because I'd be interested to get his take. How do you feel like the country's still going to get saved when you see stuff like that?
Well, I've been saying on my show that I don't know if America will ever be America again. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is America has allowed evil, which is anger, to be pushed as good. And most people would say, it's okay to be angry. Everybody and mama are angry. Anger is natural. You need anger to protect yourself. And so anger is being pushed as a religion now in the country. Whereas when I was growing up, love was being pushed. to treat people the way you would like to be treated,
You're right.
to never judge, speak up, but don't hate, right?
Yeah.
And since the folks are afraid to speak up, and especially white people, they're afraid to speak up, and anger is being pushed as good.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if America ever will be America again. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't be able to live in this country, those who overcome anger and are born of the Father.
Yeah.
You'll be able to live in this world, but you won't be affected by it inwardly because God is with you.
So
but I don't know if America will ever come back.
So saving America, you'd say then as a country may not be attainable anymore, but like saving the idea of it inside of like groups of like individuals and groups of people might still be possible.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's what made America great, is that at one time we were individuals and we did not think as groups. And as a result, you didn't have victims the way you have now because we were individuals, and we have lost that individuality, and now we're groups. Well, I'm not a group, but there are groups, and that's why America falling apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's crazy that you say that because like you watch like the internet obviously is a real like it's a breeding ground for anger and stuff like that. But you talk about victimhood. It's almost like we've placed it. It's almost like being in a store, like a certain piece of clothing is being pushed really hard. So then people really want it and its value goes up. I feel the same way with victimhood right now. Like people have put like a value on you being a victim, whereas being a victim before was something you fought. You didn't want to be it. You didn't want people to see you as that. You didn't want them to look down on you. But now there's a movement where being a victim now gives you a badge and it scores you points and it makes you free from criticism and stuff like that. It's wild, man.
Well, you do these people do make a lot of money and perceive power off creating victims. You have the so-called civil rights movement, which was the worst thing that, other than abortion, that has ever happened to America, especially to Black folks. And the so-called civil rights leaders, they work overtime to keep the Blacks believing that they are victims, that there's such a thing as white supremacy or racism, and that they just can't make it because of that. And so when the civil rights movement convinced the Blacks to stay in that hellhole that they live in, they make a lot of money off that. They get money from the government. They get perceived power and wealth. They're able to live in nice neighborhoods because they keep the Blacks there. They're using the poor in order to stay rich for themselves.
Right.
And that's happening with the women's movement, abortion movement, the homosexual movement. They're keeping these people victims because they make money from it.
Right. Well, and the goalposts seem to keep moving too. We were talking about this when we were talking about the trans thing, but I think it's applicable to all these groups that like as soon as you point out like, hey, you know, we've made this amount of progress in this many years, or we've made this amount of progress in this many years, all of a sudden those people that you said that want to live in the nice houses, they find a new grift, they find a new hustle, and they go, well, no, the victimhood is actually this, and they like crank up the dial and lower the barrier as to what a victim is, and they just get to keep the thing going. It's you gotta kind of not admire it, but you gotta be kind of impressed that they've been able to keep that machine going.
Yeah. And they have, but I blame the individual because as adults, we're responsible for our lives. We're responsible to overcome. And if you make up for whatever reason, a decision that you're going to turn your life over to someone else to lead it, it's your fault that you get what you get. I used to, when I moved to LA, and this happened when I was growing up in Alabama, but I moved to LA when I was 18 and I started listening to the so-called civil rights leaders, Jesse Jackson and Louis Farrakhan and all those people. And I fell for the lie that racism existed and it was hard on the Black man in America. And my life went to hell in a handbasket. And it wasn't until I started to question things. All right, so if white people are holding Black people down, why is it that the Blacks who are pushing this are doing so well? Louis Farrakhan living behind a gated community, Jesse Jackson and children going to the best schools, getting the best jobs, the NAACP making buku money off the Black. I'm like, why are the white people holding them back? And that's when I start to see that we have been lied to.
So like,
because I took charge of my own life.
Right, and that individualism thing is really key to that, and I feel like it's a hard sell because a lot of people naturally want to have like a support group, but I mean, if you can kind of be self-sufficient, that support group kind of becomes yourself in a way. One thing I wanted to ask you about the civil rights thing. Has there ever at any time in the civil rights movement in America, has there been someone who you would look at and go, okay, that guy wasn't hustling. That guy was trying to teach something better, and maybe that was productive. Other than yourself, of course, Jesse.
There's not one that comes to mind that was part of the civil rights movement.
Okay.
There's not one that comes to mind at this point because the civil rights movement was a socialist movement. It was about taking control of the blacks in order to use them for personal gain.
Okay.
And because prior to that, black people thought for themselves for the most part. They did for themselves. They were not, even in Alabama, on the plantation I lived on, they were not blaming the whites, as I said. They knew it was a battle between good and evil. And there were decent white people and black people. There were bad white people and bad black people because of the spiritual battle. And so the blacks worked hard. They bought land. Yeah. They had family. They didn't rely on anyone. So at this point, I can't think of anyone that meant well toward the blacks.
It's big business now too. Like you were saying, there's so much money in it now. So like the people, you notice now, like especially people like you, who speak out so brazenly against it. These people will demean you. They'll say all kinds of nasty things to not even to diminish your point, but like to like make people think you don't matter. So what you say doesn't need to be listened to. Do you think a lot of that's because of like the bubble is so big now, there got to be so much money in it that they're going to fight harder and harder and demonize more and more people just simply because the financial motive, if they lose, is so daunting to them?
Well, that is happening, and absolutely, that's the reason, one of the reasons. But the primary reason is that, as I said earlier, our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil, and you got to have evil fighting against good. Those who are on the side of evil are going to try to stop those who are on the side of good, and that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to work for the devil because the devil is their daddy. And those who are of God will work for God because God is their daddy. Yeah. And if you don't give into the devil, he cannot defeat you. He has no power, and he cannot stop those who love what's right with all their heart, soul, and might, right? And just don't identify with that. Just live your life loving what's right, and God will guide you. So they're doing their job. They're supposed to stop it. Yeah. We are not supposed to allow that to happen by giving into them.
Yeah.
Don't resent them. They cannot help it because the devil is their daddy. They're doing what they're supposed to do, promote evil.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes it seem a lot less like overwhelming to hear you say like, oh, just do it on an individual level. I feel like if that message got to more people, they would feel a little more comfortable, saying what they want to say, doing what they want to do. Because everyone now, I mean, you got to, like, even the good side, you talk about God and the devil. I feel like even that God side still feels like it needs groups. And when you get in groups, you kind of sacrifice your opinion. You sacrifice, like, when you want to stand out on your own and do that whole thing. So, like, this whole God and the devil thing, do we run the risk, like, even if the quote-unquote God side ends up winning, could it then transition and become a group that becomes the next oppressive thing that just keeps people down? Like, if you forget the individualism part.
If you're truly, truly born again of God, I'm not talking about the Bible thumper kind of born.
Right.
I'm not talking about the man or the woman who goes down to the front of the church and accept Jesus, Lord and Savior, right? That's group thinking. But if you've been born again of the Spirit of God and you've overcome, your heart has been changed from the nature of the devil to the nature of God, which is perfect love, there's no way that you can become a groupie. It's just not in your nature. You don't need it. You don't want it. You see what's wrong with it. So it would be impossible for that to turn into a groupie mentality.
I want to
ask. It won't
happen.
happen.
I want to ask you something about like when the cameras turn off on some of these interviews you do. We have had a lot of fun with your discussion with Hassan Piker in the past. When he absolutely just was shocked that you would even ask him about anything about Islam, or because he's not used to that kind of stuff. When these interviews are over, whether it's Dr. Phil or Hassan or these people who might disagree with you, What's their approach towards you afterwards? Like, are they cordial? Are they a little shocked? Because you're a blunt dude, and a lot of these people aren't used to that.
Well, I can see on their faces that they're very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But they put on a fake smile and a fake niceness, just to get me out of the studio.
They're cordial.
Yeah.
They're nice until Jesse leaves and they go, that guy is out of his goddamn mind.
I know. They're like, what the? But no, I understand it too. And I don't take it personally because I know for sure and without a doubt that it's a spiritual battle.
Right.
Yeah.
And
You
those who
trusted it.
love God has the power to defeat the devil that's in others because the devil has no power. These people who join groups and who call you different names and who attack you and all that, they have no power.
Right.
And if you don't give in to the attacks and you don't take it personally, there's nothing that can stop you.
Well, and that's where you get back to your point. I thought it was a beautiful point about anger just being fear. And I think that's where the name calling and all that stuff comes from. There's no point, there's no righteousness to what they're saying. There's just, hey, I'm going to project my fear onto you, so hopefully you'll be scared too and shut up.
It's true. Whenever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whenever.
You don't possess that fear, Jesse.
No.
And no one will, if they overcome the nature of the devil, you will not have fear because perfect love casts out fear.
Yeah.
That's why you must go and forgive so that God can forgive you. And he would change your nature. He would give you a clear mind. He would change your heart from anger to love. And you would never judge your fellow man because you would see, you'll be honest, you'll speak up, but you won't judge them because you would see that it's not them that, but it's the spirit of evil that made a home in them and they can't help themselves. So it's not personal.
Changing gears a little bit and making this a little more personal to April and I, we have on our soundboard here on our show, because we do kind of a comedy show. You talked to the Revenge of the Cis guys a while back. It's kind of a show more in that vein. We have a few drops here of you that we absolutely love. And I think my favorite Jesse drop would have to be easily this one.
Beta!
It's my favorite thing. We've watched the compilation video where people call in and they're ready to make a big point, and then you just interrupt them when they say that. You go, beta! And we had to wonder, our audience has been asking all day. They're like, oh, Aaron, watch out. Jesse Lee's coming on the show. He's not going to like that you do a show with your wife. You're going to get a beta out of Jesse Lee. So I got to ask you, is hosting a show with your wife beta?
Well, let me ask this first, and then I can respond to that.
Okay.
And I want to respond. Are you the head of your wife?
April, am I the head of my wife?
No, don't ask her.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm going to get a beta now.
That was.
Oh, shit.
Beta!
All right.
That was beta.
I will say this. The company, yes, I am the CEO of the company that puts on this show.
I'm not even on the business. So.
And so are you the head of your wife?
Yes, in that regard.
No, are you the head of your wife?
Yes.
And April, do you obey your husband?
Usually.
Uh-oh.
Do you obey your husband?
Yes.
Do you obey your husband?
I think so.
Oh, shoot.
I have a little bit of individuality going on here, which I think you'd be okay with, but I think, yes, I have a good role in this house, if that makes sense.
And so you're not sure if you obey him or not?
I guess, what are the parameters on that?
Jesse's going to yell beta. He's not going to let you go with these half answers. Yeah, see, he's not going to let you go with these half answers.
Oh, no.
He needs a yes or no, and it needs to be confident. You can see him. He's leaning forward. He's got his BS
I'm trying
detector
to think
out.
here. I'm like a hunter-gatherer person. I go out and do the food
He's going
stuff.
to yell beta.
You know?
Beta! So let me ask, April, when you wake up in the morning sometime or your husband, Aaron, get home and you're sitting there at the board and he's running the show, he won't let you speak, and you get angry. How does he deal with that when he see that you're angry?
Can I tell you something? I don't get angry because I know that it's his show to run, and that's my honest answer.
Oh.
And how about home life when you're angry at home about nothing? He see that you're irritated. How does he deal with that?
I think usually I get yelled at a little bit.
No, I wouldn't say yelled at.
I don't know if I'm ever angry about nothing.
When she's angry about something, Jesse, I try to pull her out of it. It's not that big of a deal. Although I would say recently I've changed that a little bit and gone to more like, hey, it's okay. It's going to be all right. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if I'm doing it alpha or beta. I'll yield to you. And how
when you
should
say
that?
angry about something, is there one thing in life that you should be angry about? Either one of you?
Ooh.
Me? Angry?
Either one of you. Is there one thing in life, because both of you said when she's angry about something.
Yeah.
Is there one thing in life that can ever happen to you that you should be angry about?
I think the correct way to answer that, because I did grow up a Christian woman, I know that you're not supposed to have anger inside of you. I know you're not supposed to allow that to get to you. I do think that it can get the best of you sometimes, and I know that's not right. So I guess to answer your question, there's nothing you should be angry about, and I think we all fail at it a lot.
And so how about you, Aaron? Do you think there's ever a time that you should be angry?
Should be no. There are times where I definitely.
Is there anything in life that happens to you or anyone else that you should ever get angry about?
No, absolutely not. Life is very, very good, and you shouldn't be angry. Anger seems like pettiness and fear when it happens.
It's evil. It's pure evil. So, April, do you want to live a life of no anger?
Yes. I'd prefer to live without anger.
You believe it's possible?
I do if you work hard enough at it. Yes.
Are you guys able to? I got to take a quick break. Can you hold on for a minute?
I would love to hold on, Jess.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let me take a break. We're at the top of the hour. And then I'll answer the question about the anger thing.
All right.
888-775-3773. Hake is coming in with the hate news, not the fake news. One more hour to go. Open line Friday. Back in a moment.
All right, and we're live with Jesse Lee Peterson right now. Jesse's going to take a little break, so we'll go down a little bit. I think Jesse's about to have some real fun with us.
Oh man,
this is.
Look, three-way things here get complicated sometimes,
right.
So I was kind of letting you two just.
Well, I was kind of throwing it over to you.
Waiting for him to get it back over here.
I was throwing it over to you.
I definitely feel like it's about to get interesting.
It's interesting because it's kind of going through an epiphany both of us have had recently. So like Jesse's kind of leading us into like where we're going in terms of, and for me it's anger. It's like getting mad at stuff. When he started talking about anger being fear, I went, holy shit, April and I like just talked about this very concept.
Yeah.
Like a day ago.
It's personal.
We talked about how we were like, oh man, I get angry at this stuff and I'm not even mad at it. I'm just scared and I can't admit it. And she's like, yeah, you just get mad at stuff and you're afraid, but instead of, he's right.
You typically tend to like deal with things you're afraid of or challenged by a little more hostile-esque than I do.
I like to say I used to, because I feel like once you kind of understand that and once you get that, you then kind of get on that road to not doing that anymore. And I would say for a good week for me, it's what he's been saying has rung very true for me for about a week, and it's just something that's got it. And I'll tell you this. If you guys have ever thought about it, letting go of that anger when you're scared, it does make you feel lighter. Like it makes you feel less stressed, and it gives you a lot more. It feels like a weight's lifted off your shoulder.
Well, you want to try to be happy as often as possible. That's for sure.
Exactly.
I think where I'm going to struggle with him a little bit, and I already did, was that, he's talking about how we need to all be individuals and stuff like that. But then when it comes to somebody in my position as a woman, I'm not supposed to be an individual in my own home. I'm supposed to be obeying you and like a subordinate to you and things like that. So it's hard for me to sit there and answer him like, oh, do you obey your husband? Like, well, that's almost a shitty thing to be asked because I'm supposed to be an individual, am I not?
Right. But isn't that kind of the problem? You're trying to answer the question the way he thinks you want to answer.
That's exactly it. I don't feel that my answer from my own honest answer would be what he's looking for.
Yeah.
So
and
because no, I'm not here to obey my husband. I'm here to exist and be a part in a home.
Like April and I kind of work together on house, hanging out, kids, business, the whole deal. And we want to say that, but we don't want to be shouted beta.
No, I think it's happened a few times. It's fine. The sting has worn off.
The sting has worn off.
I think
beta.
I expected it.
Yeah.
So.
Captain says, is he actually on the radio? Did you just swear on radio? What they told us was just keep it YouTube friendly. And we'll be okay.
YouTube TOS.
Reverend Bob does say, obey the man and be happy.
All right, so
Shitty McPoopy,
I'm in the wrong here.
Shitty McPoopy Pants says, I give my wife the switch if she disobeys my word. Brittany says, I obey my husband.
See, I can't. If I'm being honest, no, I don't go by that. I absolutely don't live my life by, okay, did I obey my husband today? That's not how I work.
LM12 is saying JLP chat is hilarious if you're not Aaron. Uh-oh. I'm getting called beta. I'm getting called beta big time with Jesse Lee.
No, I think this is fun. This is going to be good.
Yeah. We're going to...
Man, can you imagine if we brought up anything with, like, your mom and shit? Like, how that all went down?
That would be a very long show.
I think brutal, almost. Like, he's the type of person you go to with the hard shit because he'll give it to you the way that needs to be said that nobody else will say.
Well, should we mention it and see what he thinks?
I don't know.
What do you think?
We could.
We talked about it on the show enough. Like, we could...
I don't know.
Bring it up to Jesse,
you know what?
see what he thinks.
I'm not making that call.
All right.
I'm absolutely not making that call.
All right. Yeah, apparently in Jesse Lee's chat, it's I'm definitely a beta.
Are you beta?
In Jesse Lee's chat, yeah. It's hard.
I don't know because, like, by Jesse's standards, it might be like I'm not obeying my role as a woman here because I go out hunting and fishing, and that's considered like man shit too. I don't know.
I think Jesse. I think Jesse's standards are very high.
Yes.
That's why it's very hard to, like, you don't get to where he is and, like, the attitude he has by, like, compromising it ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's really difficult. Jesse, that Triple N says Jesse's old school, for sure.
He is, and I don't know what's going to happen the more I keep, like, answering him with, like, honesty and shit like that. I don't know if he's going, like, suddenly his chat's probably going to turn on me and be like, okay, well, clearly she's a problem, and he needs to get rid of her and find a truly subordinate wife, of course.
Yeah, so. Apparently, I'm not gonna go look at. I'm not gonna look at Jesse Lee's chat because I've already been told that Aaron is very much a beta.
I don't think we were looking at our chat the whole time either. You could have it open in case they have questions, but
it's moving a little fast though.
Okay.
As far as, but we're gonna have Jesse Lee back on in about a minute here, and we're gonna we kind of jumped around a lot more than I wanted to. I had some things I wanted to get to, but we've kind of touched on all of them.
I got some weird shit that I feel like he's got preconceived too, like when he said, like, when Aaron's over here running the board and running the show and not letting you talk. So does that mean that typically in his home, like, woman's not allowed to talk, and the woman's just angry about things?
No, he's using that as an example.
You know what I mean?
No, he's using that as an example of what might make you angry.
I don't know that I've ever been angry about that. Like, a little bit ago, before it did get thrown over to, like, dynamics over here, I'm going to get out of your way so you two can have the conversation, and that doesn't anger me, I guess.
Bob says, why is April talking back to you?
You know what, Bob? Give me a solid next time you see me.
No, it's really interesting, like, Jesse talking about this stuff, because it's conversations I've been having, and it is kind of fun. I will tell you this. It's fun to realize, like, well, it's not fun to realize that you're like, holy shit, every time I'm angry, it's basically fear, and you got to just either admit you're afraid or don't be afraid of the thing. And that part sucks, is like realizing you've been doing it that way for so long, but then fixing it and behaving differently, you go, oh shit, that does feel better. It's like finding out you've been wearing ill-fitting shoes for a long time, and you finally try on a pair that fits, and you go, oh shit, that's fantastic.
Am I going to be a beta for being like a step parent and shit like that too?
I don't know.
I don't know if we bring that up.
Truthfully, the guys were talking a while, and we didn't hear your voice. It was a question if it bothered you.
Me? No. When there's an interview going on, it's hard to be a third person. It's cleaner if there's two people talking.
All right. Jesse's about to come back on. We'll have Jesse Lee Peterson here. JesseLeePeterson.com for all of Jesse's stuff, his YouTube channel, the whole deal.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the third hour of Get It Off Your Chest Friday. Express yourself. My biblical question, and by the way, you can get involved by calling 888-7753-773, 888-77-JESSE. And my biblical question, is it good to let the world betray you? Is it good to let the world betray you? We have every way that you can watch and support the show listed on JesseLeePeterson.com. And if you're out and about anywhere in the world, working out or relaxing at the beach or whatever, you can listen to the show by calling the listen line on TalkStream Live at 641-793-1500. 641-793-1500. Follow us, ring the bell, hit the like button. We are on cozy.tv/JLP and rumble.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. So I'm moving a little faster because we're doing a simulcast and taking calls and everything. It's Friday. It's Get It Off Your Chest Day. It is whatever is on your mind. Express Yourself Friday.
You, Tom, like a mug. You need to go and get yourself bleached because everything
Jesse's
you
got a
say
whole show
about
he's gotta do.
black people and you're sitting up there looking like a tar baby.
It might sound like a semantics argument, but he's a great alien.
I wonder if he's been smoking pot.
We are just minutes
there
away
we
from
go.
the 2-year anniversary of the January 6th attack.
I'm begging and pleading, literally begging for assistance from my men and women.
Hey, man. Glad to see you guys. You guys are patriots. Look at this guy. He's got pepper blood. God bless him. Any chance I could get you guys to leave the same way?
We will. I've been making sure they ain't disrespecting the place.
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? These voted for Joe Biden." One officer told me he had never, and in his entire 40 years of life, been called a to his face. And that streak ended on January 6th.
The police here are willing to work with us and cooperate peacefully.
I love you guys, you're brothers, but we can't be disrespectful.
I don't know how much we can talk if we're coming through on. I don't want to come through on
I was going to die.
thing.
An encounter with the third kind, because she wasn't at the building at the time. I'm doing a simulcast, and we're going to get to your calls. I know it's the last hour with the Steel Toe Morning Show. And so they invited me to be a guest on their show, but our shows are on at the same time. So we decided to do it by way of do a simulcast here. I have with me Aaron M. Holtz and his wife, April M. Holtz. And thank you guys again for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, Jesse.
Yes.
Not only that, it kind of like my question about hosting a show with my wife kind of turned into the dynamic swung. It then became
bigger.
Jesse's interview and kind of inquisition because I asked if I was
Beta
or not, and I can tell that while I'm working on myself and April's working on herself, it sounds like we got some work to do.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to do that, and then I'll let you ask me.
All right.
But April, I asked before the break, did you want to overcome the anger? Do you believe that you live on earth in perfect peace?
I think you can with enough effort, and I would like to get there. I know it's a big struggle sometimes. So.
And why do you think it's a struggle?
I think we are so overstimulated by so many things every day that we allow that stress to creep in and we don't deal with it healthy anymore. And I think that comes a lot from watching other, like you say, groups deal with things a certain way. And then you feel that if you deal with it in your own way, that's not healthy anymore. That's not acceptable. And then suddenly when you're not accepted, that breeds more anger and it's all just a spiral. I think it's very overwhelming sometimes.
Well, I want you to know, as a living witness, I'm not talking about what somebody said or what I read or what I heard. I want you to know you can live right here on earth in perfect peace, never bothered by what someone else thinks or says, never caught up with stress. Stress would be on the outside of you, never on the inside, and you can have perfect peace on earth. it's possible for those who forgive. You got to forgive your mother and return to your father.
Okay.
Have you forgiven your mother?
I hate to ask, but for what specifically? I'm always a little confused.
Impose her will on you.
I guess I haven't.
Wow.
Why not?
How do you go about something like that?
When you see that that's what happened, and you get to know yourself, and you know that the fear and the stress and the worry and the stuff you have, she has it too. And when you were a little girl and she imposed her will on you, she made you angry and you became like her. You're not yourself. That spirit that's in her is now in you. And when you see that, I can't help myself. I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be stressful. Then you will realize she doesn't want to be that way either. She couldn't help herself. Her mother did it to her. And you would go and apologize for resenting her. Hey, mother, I realize now you couldn't help yourself. I see what I'm like. I can't help myself. I'm sorry for resenting you. And God will forgive you. And he would take that spirit away from you and you will be free.
God, that sounds relieving. I have had, this is going to sound funny, I guess. I have had similar conversations with my mother about things like that before when something in life has her completely overwhelmed and it's running over into the household and stuff, like you said, when I was growing up. And I did make attempts on occasion, you know, like how much better would it be if you didn't have to live this way and things like that. Yeah. And it does help for a short period of time. So
well, go and apologize for resenting her, because anger is resentment. Is anger is destructive. It's not of God and it's not of you. And just apologize for resenting her. Don't apologize for anything that happened growing up, but you resented her. And don't ask for forgiveness, because women don't forgive. And just apologize for resenting her, playing God, and God will forgive you, and your whole world will change just like that.
Okay. I can give that a shot.
And you're going to be afraid.
Yes.
But it'll be the last time you will ever have to shake in your boots.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Aaron?
I got to tell you, a lot of the things you've been saying about anger and fear and all that stuff have really been hitting with me because, you know, we've got 3 kids. I've definitely come from a father who could be pretty angry at times. And then when you have, you know, the show, the business, and then there's kids in the house, and, you know, I can get angry. And recently April and I had a conversation, and I had maybe like a Jesse Lee style epiphany where I said to her, I go, every time I've been angry about something, it's always because I'm afraid that you're not, you know, feeling well, and I want to help you feel better. And I'm afraid that I can't help, and I'm afraid about, and I went, oh my God, that's all. Instead of me going to people and saying, hey, I care about you guys, I just want to make sure you're all right, I got angry. And for the last week or so, I've been going with, well, just go to these people and care for them and care about them and help them along instead of trying to drag them to where you need to be. And I will tell you, Jesse, not having that anger, not having that, not letting the things you're afraid of be manifest in anger, but rather letting them be manifest in love has been, I was saying this while you were on break, it's been a massive weight on my shoulders. I literally feel lighter. And I feel more respectful and loving towards the people in my life.
But your wife and your children will get better when you get better.
Yes.
Have you gone and forgiven your mother?
I will say this, absolutely not. That is something that needs to be done.
And so how do you expect to help your wife get better if you haven't overcome your mother?
For us, we've talked about this on the show before. It's my mother and my father being disrespectful of the wife. So I kind of, my loyalty was to my wife and how she was treated. And so that's kind of an ongoing thing. And I've asked my parents numerous times, I go, why don't you say you're sorry? Why don't you apologize? Why don't you make this right? And I haven't gotten that response. So I'm both of us are kind of stuck on that.
But that's not the way it goes. You should forgive your mother for turning you away from your father, and forgive your father for not protecting you. He was weak. He can't handle your mother. And once you forgive them, then you will see how to deal with them in a perfect way. If that means keeping them away from your family until they learn how to treat them in the right way. But you can't, they're not going to do it until you do it with the right spirit. You're afraid to tell them the truth. And so they still keep invading upon your family. You got to forgive your mother, man. What the?
Wow.
What the?
Well, Jesse, Jesse, I think if I did that, I think I would feel amazing.
You would feel amazing. You would be amazing.
Yeah.
And your wife, she's never going to respect you until you overcome your mother and you can deal with her in a perfect way. Your wife hates you because you're weak.
Well, and my whole thing with that was my strength, what I felt was the strength, was just cutting them off and telling them, like, look, here's the rules. You do this. You don't cross this line. You cross that line. You're out. And that was.
But you'll be able to do that with perfect love.
Well, no, that's what I. No, I'm saying that's what I did. I went, you guys, look, you did this. You're out. You know, you're out. And that, I kind of cut them out. That's exactly what I did. Yep. They crossed a line.
You must forgive though, because the same thing that your father and mother went through, you and April are going to go through the same thing, because your spirit has not changed from your mother's spirit to God's spirit to your father's spirit.
Okay.
It's the spirit of it. You're just going to repeat the same cycle from generation to generation. April, one last question about that, and then we'll move on. When you were growing up and you were asking your father to help you deal with your mother, what would he say?
Largely, honestly, this did happen a lot.
You didn't think it was going here, did you?
No, I really appreciate this. Largely, the hand on the shoulder thing, and he's just like, that's just kind of how she is. Don't listen to that stuff. She's just having a hard time. And it's more of like the calming, like, don't go down her road type of thing. Don't get angry back at her. Just take a break, take a step away, and she'll be better in a little bit. That was largely the response I got.
So he didn't help you deal with it then. He didn't protect you from her. Forgive your father. Go and forgive your father. He a beta. He was mad.
Okay.
He was married to his mother because you become attracted to what you hate. Okay. And you're attracted to the spirit that you hate, right?
Yeah.
And so forgive your father. He can deal with her because he's married to his mama. He has not forgiven his mother. So he was afraid of her. And so forgive him for being a beta.
Okay.
Wow.
Amazing.
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 Kind of in the same vein, referring to Aaron's parents mostly. In my position, how do you learn to just let go when somebody has like wronged you? Like, I've been wronged in the worst of ways, in my opinion, by people close to him and stuff. How do I just let that go and not let it affect my life?
I promise you, once you forgive them, they know not what they do. They're wrong. Forgive them. You naturally let go. You'll be done with them. Okay. You will wish them well, but you will have no other choice but to be done with them, and you will be free.
So
and
now
you'll be able to tell them why.
So now my thing about me being done with them and cutting them off, you're saying that I skipped a step. The cutting them off thing is fine for what they did, but I skipped a step in between.
Right, because they're still ruling, even though they're not around. Yes. Their spirit is still with you, so they're still controlling you.
That is completely true.
So the two of us together have been waiting, I believe, both of us have been waiting for an apology.
For almost 2 years.
You're saying instead we shouldn't wait for the apology. Just give the forgiveness, but don't let them back in because of what they... So basically, forgive, don't forget.
Yeah, no, well, you should apologize for resenting them for what they did because they couldn't help it, right?
Okay.
And God will forgive you, and you don't need an apology from them. You're saying, I'm wrong for judging you for what you've done. I'm sorry for resenting you. And if they want to apologize for what they've done, that's on them. But if they don't, that's on them. You guys will be able to go and live your life.
That's a brilliant point. Holy shit.
Right.
Sorry if we're on the my apologies. No, that's some heavy stuff, Jesse. Wow, that's pretty good, because I took the step of, the natural step that I think most men would take is, well, unfortunately, most men wouldn't take this step. They'd try to find a way to find a middle ground. But to me, the step I wanted to make was, when my mother and father were incredibly disrespectful, was, nope, you're cut off. The access is denied. I stand with my wife, so on and so forth. We're a team. We're together. But and that to me feels like that's the finality. That's the cutoff. But you're saying that no, it can't be that easy.
Right, because they still rule because you still have the same spirit that they have.
Sure.
You want to overcome the spirit, and so that you can be guided by the spirit of perfect love instead of that spirit of anger.
I
and you
feel
still,
that.
as I said, you'll be done with them, because you'll be free. You'll be a free man, and she'll be a free woman. Your wife will, and you guys will work together as one, because there will be no competition anymore. It'll be one serving the same Father, which is the Spirit of God. And so, once again, don't ask for forgiveness. You forgive them, and if they don't apologize, it's okay.
All right.
As long as you don't resent them, that's on them. If they don't want to apologize, they have to suffer with that.
I hear you. Okay.
And once you truly forgive, you will forget. You will not remember.
It's damn interesting you say that, and I've been saying this to April lately about me, reacting more with love than fear in the last few weeks here. It's interesting you say that, because I've always been telling April about my parents. I've been saying, hey, they're still they're still angry and they won't apologize and they're this and that. So we're better off because we're above it and this and that. You're saying until you are magnanimous, you can't just say, I cast you into hell, you're done, you're out. That's not the thing that brings you peace. You're saying the thing that brings you peace is not only am I done, but I also forgive you. I'm not holding any grudges. I'm not holding any animosity. Now you can, I won't say sit in judgment, because I know, you don't want to sit in judgment of other people, but you can then feel comfortable in the fact that, look, I did everything. If they don't want to do it, we're at peace. We're fine.
Again, once you apologize for resenting them for what they've done, everything else will become clear. You'll just be free. It will be nothing to think about.
Sure.
You'll be free.
Okay. Wow.
You will just totally be free, and you can live your life. You're not yourself yet. You are them. You're not you. You've been recreated in the image of your parents.
Okay.
And you're not yourself. So that's why the cycle goes on from generation to generation to generation. But once you forgive, now you have a brand new heart. Salvation's of the heart. So now you're married. You have your own family. You start a new generation, a generation of love instead of a generation of hate. And your kids would never have to go through what the both of you have gone through with your parents. But if you don't forgive them, and forgiveness is to say, I'm sorry for resenting you.
Yeah.
I realize now you can help yourself. And God will forgive. And that's what forgiveness is. It's not apologizing the other way. Go ahead.
I'm not even sure how to approach these people. I know, like, cutting them out, like, that's obviously why it's not enough. I don't know how to be in the same room with these people. If I hear they're going to be in the same room as me, my day is over.
I think what Jesse's saying is once you forgive them or forgive yourself for resenting them, then their existence almost becomes immaterial.
How do you go about approaching these people to do that, though? Like, for
shaking in your boots.
You do go scared. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, because you're eliminating the fear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And once you face them and apologize for resenting them, the fear would disappear. You would no longer ever have to shake again. And if you do end up in a room with them down the road somewhere in life, you wouldn't be bothered by it at all. Okay. And you're going to be shocked that you can be in the same room and not moved by anything they say or do, and you would be yourself.
What a relief that would be.
You would be able to speak up if you need to. If you don't, you don't. But you will not be moved by it inwardly at all.
I'll tell you this, Jesse. I thought this interview was going to be you calling us betas and us talking about how the country's falling apart. But you're goddamn good at touching a nerve there, Jess.
We needed this.
But the only way we're going to change the country, we got to change the hearts and the minds of the people. We got to turn their hearts and mind back to perfect love rather than anger. And once that happens, the country will change when the people change.
All right. Well, I did want to mention one other thing. I know that you've got a show to do today, and we've got to wrap up in a couple of minutes here. Yep. I mentioned your Revenge of the Cis interview. One clip we loved of that April and I cannot stop mentioning to each other, and we laughed so hard, is this kind of crystallizes what we love about you and your approach and how you talk to people. You looked right at Mersh out of nowhere after he was done answering a question. You looked right at him. You said, "What's wrong with black people?" You just asked a white guy right then. You know, white people are terrified to talk about race in general. I mean, we don't know if we're going to get fired. I know. So you go right to this white guy and you go, "What's wrong with black people?" I got to ask you, what kind of answer are you hoping to get out of someone when you ask them a question like that?
Well, I really ask in hopes to encourage them to see themselves, to see that they have fear and that they are afraid to stand up for what is right. Because once you see yourself, once you see what's going on inside of you, then you will start to change. When you can see what's wrong with you, you start to change. So when I ask that, I'm hoping, especially, but not only with white folks, I want them to see that they're losing their country due to fear, the fear of being called racist, the fear of losing something. They have put material things and a fake personality before what is right. And if white people don't stand up and speak up, we will quickly become in South Africa, where the whites over there were afraid to speak up to the blacks. And then the blacks took over South Africa, and now they are killing the whites, raping them. They have defunded the police. The whites have no protection. They go to the land. And that is happening in America because white folks won't stand up in their own country. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that the person would see their own fear and start to overcome it before it's too late.
Yeah. No, and it is amazing. You know, it's amazing.
Amazing.
It's, you know, you talk about the fear and everything like that. And I feel like when white people specifically talk about race, you're always going to get a dishonest discussion because I think it always starts with a fear that they don't naturally have. Our natural inclination is just to answer a question, be honest, you know, express ourselves. That fear, and you talked about this being a business earlier, that fear is so deeply programmed. And so many of us, if we went to public school, if you watch television, you're on the internet or whatever, there's that programming that's there to implant these fears in you that makes it that much harder to push through and get to that honest conversation.
Fear of
absolutely.
judgment.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And that's why you gotta, because as I said before, the spirit of fear is the nature of the devil. It's not you. You know, Paul said in the Bible, the things I want to do, I can't, that are good. The things I don't want to do, I do. And I realize it's not me, but it's the spirit that made a home in me. Satan has made a home in the imagination. That's why God said, bring all thoughts into captivity. All thoughts and all emotions are lies. They're of the devil. They're not you. That's the ego nature that will die once you return to the spirit of the Father. The light will kill the darkness. And so, and you're right. Once you overcome that spirit, which is in the thoughts are all lies all the time about anything because they're of the devil, you will be free from all that mess.
Yeah. Jesse, this has been an amazing time with you.
Amazing.
Yes, this has been a lot of fun, and we're going to try to be less beta and take a lot of the things into account that you said today. It was a lot of fun. We appreciate it. And I did hear during your break, my audience was nice enough to come to me and say, oh boy, Jesse's chat right now is really, you guys are beta to Jesse's chat. I'm going to tell Jesse's fans right now, we love you guys. You're fantastic.
Yes, we do.
Right on.
We're big fans of Jesse, and the way you talk, Jesse, and just the stuff you're willing to just throw out there and put out there. It is. And today you've been very inspirational, I think. So I appreciate the time you've given us today, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
I'd love to
Absolutely.
catch up again.
Well, forgive my fans for being that way. They can't help it. Aaron, do you forgive April, do you forgive Aaron for being weak now that you understand? For being beta?
Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah, forgive him. It's not, it's his fault that if he doesn't overcome it as an adult, but his parents did that to him.
That I believe. I've seen that before.
And that way you don't pass that on to the children.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And that's a big one for me.
Very important.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you guys for coming on. I'm going to have you guys on my show one day soon. That's amazing.
Yes,
I'd love to, buddy. Thank you very much. And JesseLeePeterson.com for our audience for everything Jesse related. That's the easiest way to find all of it.
Thank you.
And it's the Steel Toe Morning Show.
Yes.
Check it out, folks. And thank you guys, and Happy New Year.
You
Happy
too,
New
Jesse.
Year.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now.
There he goes. Jesse Lee Peterson throwing down. It is so weird that he had that conversation because you and I just had this same conversation. And we were talking about like eureka moments where you go like, holy shit, I didn't realize I've been doing this and now I can start doing this. But like with that parent thing, it was like, Oh shit.
You got close earlier this week. You said, I think my dad takes over me sometimes.
Yeah, it
you
is.
said
No,
it several times.
Not got close. I got there. Like
So-
I put the pieces together. So he's absolutely right in that regard. But the fucked up thing is, I thought when I went, that's my lady, that's my wife, you guys are fucking out. I went, there you go. Took out the trash. But he's right. You gotta place yourself. You can't let that energy in. You gotta go, hey, look, guys. You know, it's weird because I've done that previously in life where you go, hey, you know what? I forgive you. Even if you don't say you're sorry. You know what? I forgive you. Go on with your life. You know?
And I mean, I certainly haven't forgiven them. Like, what is it? The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Like,
Right.
I absolutely hate them for
Right.
what they've done. I hate them. So even just like cutting them out of our lives has not done anything to help me. And I
Right.
mean that because anytime it comes up or anything, it is like an internal fucking boiling.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help anything. And that's anybody who wrongs
And,
you.
and
that
he's
badly.
right, whether it's your parents, my parents, whatever. Like your parents haven't done anything, well, maybe to you when you were a kid and stuff. Like,
Yes.
but and you can't just move
Nobody's
on.
innocent.
You can't just move on from it. He's right. You gotta break that. You gotta snap it in two, and you know, instead of a family tree, you just, when the branch is big enough, you gotta break it and plant your own tree.
What a weirdly exhausting week this has been.
Right? What a strange, I did not see
Wow.
it going that way. All I
didn't
wanted to
either.
know was if we were beta.
I feel like I thought that was going to be funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. That did not. It's like he somehow looked at us and like read the room
Yeah.
somehow. I don't know how that
Well,
happened.
no, I think he probably, no, what it is like he said, it's everybody. This is an everybody issue.
It is. Everybody has these same things going on.
Everybody has this issue. In fact, a lot of people in the chat probably saw it start as, he's talking about Aaron and April. And then as the conversation went, I went, holy shit, they're talking about
It
me.
fit the bill. Like
Well,
everyone's
I'll tell
got
you
something.
why. You know how everyone has that feeling when they get into a tough spot where you're like, why does this always happen? You know, everyone goes, why does this always happen? Well, I think he just gave you the reason. Because you're not yourself. You're something someone else did. Basically, you're programmed. Like all that fear and that
you
anger.
are the thing that's been done to you until you let it go.
Right.
Yeah.
That him saying that anger, this is something I said to you earlier this week, that anger is fear and fear is poison. You know? And until you don't give in to that fear and you let all that shit go and realize it's not an ally, you're a lot better off.
Look at all the shit that fear ruins.
Yeah, it's nasty business. That's
Destroys
for sure.
everything.
All right, that's going to do it for today. Holy shit.
I know. I'm so glad we got him on here. Like,
Yeah.
I hope that did more than just help us. I hope that helped somebody else. And I would really like to catch up with Jesse again sometime.
I feel so good when I get those kind of conversations because it's, again, that light bulb goes off and you go, holy shit, that's so easy. Why didn't I just do that a while ago? But it's always nice when you can turn the car back around. You're like, oh, good. You know, at least Jesse was here. You can turn the car back around, go make up for that. You know, it's not after your fucking life exploded and
God.
everything died. You know, you're just like, oh, here's a really giant annoyance I have in my life. And Jesse's like, why don't you just eliminate it? You're like, I thought I did that. He's like, no. You cut it off.
It's very interesting. Like he said, the hate thing, like you hate people like several times until you just forgive them. Like, like apparently I hate you. You hate your parents. I hate my parents. And
I hate you because you hate your parents. You hate me because I hate...
we all hate each other.
Yeah, we all apparently hate each other until...
I mean, there probably is some level of that. That's why when people get into arguments and shit, it's like quickly just devolves into madness.
$5 from Bane Koof says, Bible makes it clear that your spouse takes precedence over your parents, new over old. That's what I believed when all that stuff happened. I said 100% because there's been times in my life where I've tried to balance the two. And when it happened with April, I go, nope, April's different. April's my forever chick. This is my girl right here. I'm riding with this one. You guys are out. And but as Jesse said, you got to go further than that. So, your dad's a beta. I'm a beta.
I didn't like hearing that.
You don't like hearing
never
that, do
seen
you?
my dad as that, but I'm sure that in a weird way he probably fits the bill just by putting up with my mom whenever she'd be in a way.
So
does that make sense? I don't know.
I'm a beta. You're a beta. No, you can't be a beta. I'm a beta. Your dad's a beta. Would my dad be a beta? Yeah, I guess my dad would be my dad's a
absolutely.
beta. Oh yeah, because he said you gotta forgive your dad for. Oh God, I can't remember what it was, and it was spot on. Being weak.
Oh no.
Yeah, he said it for being weak because he has all that anger and that hostility and all that. He goes, you gotta forgive him for being weak.
And it absolutely does need to be the new over the old because, like he kind of said, old people, they almost don't know any better. It's their nature now.
Right.
And you don't want to pass that on to kids and like next generations and stuff.
And to those of you writing, call them on the air. Never in a million years. Never in a million years. We didn't know that was going to happen, although it was fantastic. It was awesome. It was great. I didn't know that was going to happen.